The Raptors lose a crucial game to the Cleveland Cavaliers. 104-96 is the final. I'm Randy Urban, and welcome to Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Jack Armstrong, Amy Audibert, and Paul Jones. Jonesy, I'll start with you tonight. Raps, of course, shorthanded again, but how did Cleveland, you think, set the tone early in this one?
Great question, Randall. And I, being able to watch the game in a different way with not the same responsibilities, I put my coaching hat on, and Sherm had it on the pregame on his recipe for success. I dialed it into Eric. First thing I said was, got to keep people in front of you and keep them out of the paint. Mm-hmm. And as my late father used to say, so said, so done. Of their first 25 points, 22 of them resulted from paint possessions, either scoring in the paint or free throws as a result of drives and being fouled in the paint. That was the tone right there. And then when they didn't score in the paint, they kick it out, and now you're scrambling. And we always say this: penetration kills your defense. It absolutely wounds your rebounding, and it just destroys your help on the perimeter. Because you get in, and I don't care. Maybe if you're Flash or Superman, you can catch up to the ball when it's being passed. Mm-hmm. But it's not the first pass after the penetration. It's the second. It's the third. It's a dribble after the third and another pitch out. And you just, after a while, you just say, forget it. And they get what they want. So when you ask what did they establish tonight? They got into the paint early, and that just made it difficult for Toronto the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm. Jack, this is, I think, 7 games in 10 days for the Raps. For me, I could see the signs of exhaustion. At times, the energy was a little low, looked a little out of sync. It just didn't feel like Raptors' brand of basketball to me. Did that? It seem like that to you?
Well, here's the other thing too. From that energy, when you don't make shots, and look, I think this team prides itself on its defense and its intensity, but nonetheless, you need a few to go in. Mm-hmm. And I think that allows your defensive intensity to raise a little bit. And to me, I just think when you take OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet out of the lineup, and now Malachi Flynn tonight, you just lack firepower. And, Jonesy made a great point about the dribble penetration. The thing that sets up dribble penetration is the threat that guys will shoot the ball well from the perimeter. And therefore, there's more space. And therefore, if I have the ball, I can square you up and get by you because your teammates have to guard out on the perimeter against guys that could potentially make a 3-point shot. On the other hand, you look at the Raptors tonight, they only made 6 threes. So it's harder to score, and then it's harder for them to defend because they're coming back and they don't have mojo, they don't have juice. They're trying. They're giving it their best, but it snowballs on you a little bit. And I thought they made a great run to start the second half to get back in it. But nonetheless, there are some things that right now, when you're asking Pascal Siakam to be such a playmaker, it takes away a little bit from maybe sometimes his effectiveness offensively. And you can see a guy like Gary Trent who's really struggling right now. To have VanVleet and Anunoby, particularly for him, opens his game up a lot, and he gets different types of chances offensively when he plays with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amy, Jack mentioned that run in the third, and there was that spark there that I saw in the team during that run. It was 11-0 and 13-2 to start the third. I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity here to tie the game. Pascal goes line, misses both free throws. He misses 6 today. This to me is becoming a bit of a problem.
Well, Nick Nurse just talked about that too in his post-game press conference. Just they've got to now sit down and kind of look at the numbers and just focus on how they can increase those free throw numbers because they certainly are important. But to Jack's point, I mean, there were so many. If you're not going to get stops, you got to make shots, right? And making threes in transition is like the best energy kick that you could get, right? Especially on these teams. And so doing it's frustrating, right? Because with all that, the lack of the shot making and not having Fred or a traditional point guard in the game, and still it's a 5-point game at the end against a really good Cleveland team. It's just like they're right there. And so, yeah, I mean, listen, free throw shooting, especially on the road, right, where you don't have everything extra to help you out. Now that Scotiabank has fans again, certainly doesn't help. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and put this game on Pascal by any means. I mean, he's one of the guys that has been pretty consistent in what he's been able to do. And considering like just the lack of spacing and everything else, it's been tough for him.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, they had to run Scotty Barnes at the point tonight. What did you think of his play?
I thought he was great. I mean, he was 19, 12 and what, like 6 or 7 or something like that. I thought he played well. But it's a little bit different having a lineup with positionless basketball with Scotty initiating the offense or Pascal initiating the offense. That's great, but it's a lot different than having a guy like Fred or Malachi that will take the ball, put it under his arm, and say, you get here, you get there, you go here, let's do this, right? It's a little bit different. You expect some of that leadership from the guy that's doing that. I thought Scotty did a terrific job, but there's something at times to having, not always, but a traditional point guard on the floor. Yeah. And I thought, look, he was terrific. And I thought, for the most part, as Amy and Jack said, outside of making shots, they got looks. They only made 6, but they got looks. It's not like they turned them down or Cleveland was in their face every time. They got some decent looks. It didn't go down. Part of that now is get in the gym and knock those down. So as good as the playmaking was and as well as everybody played, there's still something to having, your traditional guy out there once in a while.
And I would add, I would just add too, something that also Nick Nurse talked about was that credit to Cleveland because they switched defenses a lot tonight.
Yes, they did.
And with a guy playing point guard who's just doesn't have reps in that position, that's a tough thing as well for him to go up against. And Toronto still had I'm doing the math here, 9 more shots. Like they still had 94 shot attempts and not more on the offensive rebounds than Cleveland did. They got shots and they got pretty good shots. Go ahead, Jack.
No, to your point, Amy, because they only turned the ball over 7 times tonight. Like that, that's pretty good. That's really good, actually, on the road without a point guard. I mean, respectfully to Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam, whatever, but you're only turning it over 7 times. And as Amy said, you took more shots. You got 94 shots. You took more free throws. So it's a matter, a lot of times, it's a make and miss league. And they're getting good shots. Again, it's tough right now because, shooting is an issue. It's definitely an issue.
It did seem though, Jack, like there was a few too many one-on-one situations. Like this, I was a little concerned in the first half because at one point with a couple minutes to go, they had 3 assists, which is so uncharacteristic of a team that has the offense that they have, and I know that they didn't have their traditional point guard and point guards, but with their offense, shouldn't they have been able to muster up some easier opportunities? Jonesy, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah. Sometimes when you have guys who can score, the assist numbers are overrated. Yeah. And I'll say this: you only get assists when guys make shots. I mean, you can move the ball great, and you can be all, as they say in Texas, you could be all hat, no cattle. Like if the ball doesn't go in, all that great ball movement amounts to, missed shots. So I'm not always concerned by the lack of assists. I mean, when you have high assist numbers, it means the ball's moving and guys are making shots. The ball might be moving, and if guys aren't making shots, you're not getting those assists. And if a guy like Pascal, or we saw Scotty sometimes, just as Alvin called it on the broadcast, just go playground. Hey, I'm bigger, I'm stronger. I got a mouse in the house. I got a little guy. Give me the ball. You guys get out of the way. I'll score, and you don't need an assist. So sometimes the numbers can kind of lie to you, Randall. And I agree with you on. I saw that too. Wow, not that many assists. But then I looked at the score, and they were ahead. They were like it was a 1-point game.
And the other thing I would just add on too is and also to your point, the assist. Well, this is an incredibly long Cleveland team. Defensively, like statistically, they're one of the best teams in the NBA because, and when you ask anyone why is Cleveland so good on defense, it's because of the bodies and length. it's really hard to move. I mean, they can cover gaps, they can get out. You know what I mean? Like they got 7-footers out there. And even with Jared Allen, which at the beginning of the game, he was still in the game, and that probably had something to do with it too. And so, yeah, I to Jonesy's point, sometimes it is a matter of maybe not moving the rock around because there's arms everywhere, which is kind of funny because that's what we talk about a lot when we talk about the Raptors defense. But I mean, this Cleveland team, they only foul on average 17 times a game. They have the fewest foul average in the NBA. They have the highest scoring defense in the NBA. They only give up 103 points a game. It's because of their length. I mean, obviously they've bought into defensive principles and things that JB Bickerstaff's trying to do. But so, I mean, I wasn't surprised that the assists were that low because of obviously not making shots on top of going up against this type of defense.
Yeah. Long wingspan can really eliminate, some bigger drives and stuff. You don't have to get the puppies moving as far and as fast, right?
Randall, when you get beat, when Darius Garland gets beat and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are back there, you just chase the guy, like chase him, put pressure on him. Yeah. He's watching for you over his shoulder. First man engages, second man off the floor, wipes it out. And you get to reset your defense. Yeah.
Lauri Markkanen, there's another 7-footer out there. Like it's crazy. They've definitely, like, when they talk about like long-term of this organization, that's why these fans are excited because they've had some pieces here that are buying in.
Mm-hmm. Jack, real quick, are you surprised that there wasn't a better fight or a longer fight considering the importance of this game and going for the 6th seed?
Oh, I think there was a fight. I think they got to a point where they were right there coming out of the gate in the third quarter. But talent takes over, Randy. I just think that
clearly in this show too.
I learned this as a college coach. I would have had a much better record if we played 34-minute games, but unfortunately the games were 40 minutes. And you learn that in the pros too. You might have really good teams for 38, 39 minutes, but there's a reason why these games are 48. And the longer you play, the more depth wears you down, and the more talent level wears you down. And you're missing 2 really good players in Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby, and you can't hide. You got to keep playing. There's a shot every 24 seconds, usually a shot every 15 seconds, and you can't hide. And you got to make them, and you got to stop them. And if you don't have that, it's just a wearing effect.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, going to stop you there. Great stuff. I'll stop the bleeding. Tough one for the Raptors. Next game is Wednesday night in San Antonio against the Spurs. Tip-off goes at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And I just want to say I'm so happy to see you guys, smiling faces and everybody feeling good and feeling better and all that kind of stuff. So continue to be well.
Thanks, Randall.
We'll see you next time.
I can't believe we got a one-on-one with you last game.
I know. Yeah,
totally
that's right.
Fair.
Hey, intimate nightcap. Right? We'll do that again.
All right. Thanks,
See you guys later.
Hey, guys. Good night.